Hello, welcome to episode 4 of the No Excuses podcast. My name's Anne and I live in Worcestershire in England with my husband Tom and our Staffordshire Bull Terrier Bertie, who you might see walking around behind me. If we shut the door, he wants to get in, and if he's in and I've shut the door, he'll want to get out. So we've half shut the door and hope that works. How are you? How have you been? I'm sitting a little bit further back this time, and it's later in the day. I'm hoping I might not look quite as washed out as I did on the last one. All these episodes are an experimentation in me trying to get the sound and the screen right. I bought a microphone. My mum wears two hearing aids and she's totally deaf without them. And she said on the last one that she couldn't hear me. So I bought a microphone on Amazon, only a cheap one luckily. I need to find it's not suitable with my phone. Oh dear. And it's the sort of thing, it had good reviews. What can you do? So I'm going to try and project my voice as if I was talking to my mum. So, do I shout like this, mother? How have you been? Now, I don't know where in the world a lot of you are from, so greetings. I'm hoping that you're okay, that you are managing in whatever weather we're having, whether you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere. We don't have any snow at the moment. It's a dull day. It was bright and sunny when I got up, and now it's dull. I don't know when it's going to rain, but it's very windy. We've got to 106 subscribers. Oh, and I know some people get there much quicker than me. Like, I've seen people with one episode who've had like thousands of subscribers. But that's not what it's about for me. It's about building a little community. So, that doesn't sound arrogant or pretentious. I'm not either, hopefully. But, I want to celebrate that, the 106 subscribers, by doing a little giveaway. And I will talk about that at the end of the podcast. So please stay watching, and go on from there. I'll tell you more about it then. Well, all the places you can find me are going to be in the description box down below. I've got an email and I'm on Ravelry and on Instagram. All as Sparknits. The email is spaknitsandcrafts@gmail.com. So please feel free, anything I talk about or anything you're wondering about, then please, by all means, contact me. I really do enjoy having a chat with you. What am I wearing? Well, you can guess, can't you, a lot of you. This is a Sipila, or the Sipila, by Caitlin Hunter. I knitted it last year. It's in Blue Face Leicester, which is my preferred yarn for jumpers, if I'm honest. Although I've not worn it before, and it's 4-ply, and it's quite it's not as warm as my DK. Obviously not, Anne. Silly sausage. But I really liked it. I enjoyed knitting it. What I did, I've done it in 3 colours, which you probably can't see. I'm going to come forward I'll come forward now. But I've got to watch I don't knock my tea over, because it's on a little table there. It could end in disaster. It's done in 3 colours. It's done in the musty colour at the top, and the brown here, and then the speckled, which I've used for the majority of the colour work. Now I'll put all the colours in down below, but the tonal mustard and the brown here are all by Kelpie Knits, and she's not dying as that at the moment. I think she's changed her name since then. And one of them's called You'll Take a Dram, which I think is the whiskey coloured one, and the other one is That'll Come in Handy. And they were named after her grandpa, who passed away not too long ago, I think. But I bought this about a year ago, so. And I can't remember the name of the, oh, I'm useless, aren't I, of this lovely speckled one. Now, hubby said to me when I put it on this morning, it's got splashes of red in it. I said, yes, it's variegated, it's got speckles in it. He said, it looks a bit like you spilt tomato ketchup, don't you? You know? And I haven't. I mean, I do spill things down me on a regular basis, but I haven't. But it's by Noodle Soup. And again, it's something to do with the sun, I think. But I'll put it in the thing. And I'm really sorry to the dyer that I haven't got the name right. But let me go back again a bit, watching the various tables. I can't remember what, but I think the pattern only goes down to these stripes here. And I've done a bit of a added bit, and I've done this zigzag slip stitch pattern as well, mainly because I wanted to make the use of the different yarns. I had more than enough to finish it, and of course they've got this print on the arms, which hopefully you can see, and I'm very pleased with it. I've done it to a long sleeve. I don't know what the pattern was to. I'm not sure whether these side style yokes would suit me, really. I don't know whether I'd do any more like this, purely because where you've just got yoke increases rather than a raglan increases or a setting sleeve with colour work. That's because I've got very narrow shoulders, if any shoulders at all, and it can make you look a bit like you're sat on top of a cone. You know, it's a bit, and I suppose to a certain extent that's an optical illusion, because it can look like that on a lot of people, but I just feel it might be not the right combination of pattern for me. And now I've done the sole dot now, and I need to talk about my sole dot now next time. It's also a Caitlin Hunter pattern. I need to slow down, and I lengthened it from the crop by about 2.5 inches, but I need to lengthen it again, and I'll show you that next time, because if I tell you that, you see, it'll make me do it. There's a plan, isn't there? So yeah, I'm going to have a sip of tea. Now last time I had 2 finishes, and it's only about 9 days since I last recorded, and today I've got 1 finish. It's not completely finished, but it's off the needles, and in my head that counts. And speaking of a head, here is my Fisherman's rib hat. Now this is gorgeous yarn. This is Jam's. Jam is the proprietor of the Caledonian wool shop in Fort William, and this was sent to me as a gift late last year by Kaz of the Wee Sewn. So Kaz and I swap gifts every now and again, and she sent me 2 50-gram skeins of these, so I knew I had enough to make a hat. But I've got a big head, and I was trying to be careful because I wanted to make a hat out of it because it feels so lovely and warm. It's I'll put the mix. It's got Shetland and Cheviot in. I am so unprofessional. Might be, I can't remember. But anyway, it's a blue colour. Now I wouldn't normally wear this. No, I don't know. Like I said before, I shy away from blue a bit, I think, but then I don't. But yeah, this is going to look fine on me. It is, and it fits me, but I can't put it on at the moment. But what happened was, I did the rib, and then I started trying to do a honeycomb stitch in the round, and I just kept going wrong, and I couldn't really read it very easily. It's a bit like an easy brioche, I think, but I think brioche would have been easier if I knew how to do it, and I've not approached it yet. So I thought, well, I know a good substitute, Fisherman's rib. So I looked up how to do that in the round, because I'd only ever knit that flat. And it's lovely because it's squishy, and it's added quite a bit of bulk. And the rib is done on a size smaller needle, 2 sizes smaller needle than the Fisherman's rib. But I didn't have very much yarn left over. I've put it over there. I hadn't got enough. I tried to judge it, so I basically played a bit of yarn chicken, and I ended up with just a little bit less than what would have been another row of Fisherman's rib. So it wouldn't have made a significant difference to the length, and I was a bit worried that it wasn't going to be big enough. I've got quite a big head. So I had to do some rapid decreases, which I did, but it now looks like it's one of those dome hats that I can't remember that one of the Orthodox, is it Russians wear? It goes in and out and in and out, and it looks a bit like that on my head. Can you see what I mean? It looks like it could be one of the domes of the Kremlin as well. And it looks fine when it's on, a little bit bumpy. And then hubby said, why don't you put a pom-pom on, and it will hide that centre bit of real fast decreases that I've done. So I will do that. I've got a pom-pom in a drawer there that's hidden behind the ironing board. It means I need to move the ironing board out of the way, and that's usually cluttered with lots of stuff. And I went in that drawer the other day, and I had a big sort out. I added to my magic knot balls that I'm building up nicely, and I forgot to get the pom-pom out, didn't I? You mare. I am getting forgetful. I'm going to chuck this right so that it's out of my way, but I don't want it to land on the floor. Bear with. Ta-da! Okay, so that was my only nearly finished item. Thank you so much for the yarn, Kaz. It's gorgeous. I really, really like it. So, what else have I been knitting on? Let's have a look at my friend's jumper first of all. And I'll probably put some pictures in because the colours are gorgeous in this. I'm just going to show you from a distance without trying to drop the thingies. This is how far I've got with this. I don't want to keep coming backwards and forwards. I'm in quite a tight space here. But yeah, this is the boxy that I'm doing for my friend, and obviously it's washing out. And this colour here is Textile Witch in Tutti Flora, and I'm just moving on, which is that one, and obviously you can't see much of it. And I've just started alternating it with Trouty from My Mama Knits, but I will put better photographs in. Let's say about here, to show you the colours of the jumper and of the yarn. Now, I've dropped a ball of wool. I've got to be careful I don't run over it now, and it gets entwined in my wheels, and then I have to yell for help. Help, I'm trapped by 4-ply yarn. I don't want to break it, you see. It happens often. And the other thing I've been working on, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do this. Let's have a look. In my semi-professional state. And the other one I've been working on is my city limits, which I'll put the links to, and it's a top-down jumper in various, mainly Rusty Ferret yarns, and I've got that far. And at the moment, these colours are beautiful. And at the moment, again, I'll put photographs in because they're going to show up a lot better. I'm trying to get the right proportion of me sitting there and not taking up too much of the screen, and me taking up too much of the screen. But the colours I've got to now, so I started with the bright orange mixes, and then I've come down past that colour called Burnt Sugar that had all those gorgeous autumnal hues to it. And now I'm working on 2 yarns. I put an additional yarn in here that I hadn't intended to use. Excuse me, I've been drinking gulping tea. It's making me burp. I warned you it wasn't professional. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's slightly metallic looking, and the 2 things I'm doing this in. I'll show you, but again I'll put photographs in. This one, which is the dark below. Oh, my brain. And that's Rosie's moments that I've had for absolutely donkey's years. Well, I say that, it's probably about 5. I bought it at the Bristol Wool Fair, which is the first yarn show I'd ever been to. And, oh, I loved it. I went with my mum and, excuse me, I'll leave that till afterwards. Trying to unwrap myself. Got it caught again. Went with my mum and they'd moved. They used to be apparently on a big like park area by Clifton, and they moved that year that we went for the first time to it was like it was a farm, and it was big agricultural buildings, a bit like Wonderwall, and it had a cafe on site, and I think they had shows there, but on a smaller scale, almost like a cattle market. I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember what it was used for. And they moved there, and I was all ready to go the following year, and they stopped. They haven't done one since, which is a shame, really, because physically it's the nearest, apart from like Yarningham, it's the biggest sort of big, in terms of space, show that it's the nearest I've been to. It's only down the motorway from Worcester. And it took us an hour to get there, so that was great. But I went there, and that's when I first saw Kethan of Triskelion, and I've got a gorgeous, and I should try and remember to show you that soon, BFL red yarn, and it was the first time I'd spent quite a lot of money on a single jumper's worth of yarn, and I don't regret it because it's absolutely gorgeous. And I know I keep saying, oh, they're my favourites and things, but that is one of my favourites to wear, because it looks nice and it's warm as well. Anyway, without me, I shouldn't talk about it because you can't see it. I'll put a quick pic in one of my useless photographs that I've got. But it's in my Ravelry library as well. I'll link to that. And I bought Rosie's Moments there, and I bought a few other things, but to be honest, I didn't know who anybody was. And that was the beginning of my Ravelry, use of Ravelry, and when indie dyers were becoming more and more to the fore, really, on places like Etsy. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I could have spent a lot longer there, and I found it fascinating. But nowadays I've learned a lot more about what goes on in the knitting world, obviously, purely from watching podcasts, etc., buying different yarns. I'm far more clued up as to where I want to go and who I'd like to buy from, or who I'd like to go and have a look at when I go to yarn shows. And as usual, you know, I say I don't need anything, and I come away with 2 carrier bags worth, or something like that. But it's my hobby, so I'm not going to try and justify it because I don't need to. Not to myself, anyway. I've unhooked myself, so that's good. So, yeah. And I thought, so those are my progresses. I haven't worked on anything else. I am looking forward to getting one of those off the needles, because I'd like to do a jumper for me. But then that'll give me sort of, you know, decision paralysis or whatever it's called, because I will struggle then what to make next that's going to be of the most use for me, or that I want to have a go at. It's definitely going to be something more challenging, perhaps a nice lace pattern or something, because I do like those. Perhaps even a shawl, but it would help if I'd blocked the shawls I'd made this winter in the first place, and perhaps worn them occasionally. I don't know. I mean, is there such a thing as too many jumpers or cardigans and too many shawls? You know, I prefer to knit garments, I must admit. Ever since I was younger, when I started knitting, I've really only knitted jumpers and cardigans and tops, you know, because I I think I must be a lot of a, I reckon it's about 60-40 processed product for me. I enjoy the knitting of it, especially if it's something that's got a little bit of interest to it. And I don't mind whether it's, I prefer it seamed, but you know, I'm getting used to knitting top down because purely for the availability of patterns in that format. But yeah, and then when I discovered shawls, I found there was something marvellous that sits in between knitting a full jumper or cardigan and doing something which I consider a bit fiddly, i.e. socks. I know you're all going to say, what? Socks are not fiddly? But because I've not done many, you know, so in my head I think they are. And hats and things, because they're quick off the needles, but I don't get that satisfaction. I think it must be something to do with, you know, being a process knitter for me that makes a difference. I was going to tell you a little bit about my knitting history, and I'm going to put a couple of photographs in. I've scanned most of my photos in during this lockdown, and so I've got access to, it's a shame, but I've got a couple of pictures that show things I've made over the years. Well, I just happen to be wearing hand knits. I think I started knitting, I meant to ask my mum when I was about 6 or 7. I was quite, I got bored easily as a kid, and there's nothing like the range of activities for children there is today, back then, you know, in the mid-60s. And I'm the eldest of 4 kids as well, so there was like 4 of us to keep occupied in some way or another. But I liked learning new things, so I learnt to knit, and the first thing I can remember knitting is a scarf, and it was in like a pinky purple colour and a mauve colour, lilac-y colour, and it went a bit sort of in and out, you know, it was in garter stitch, went a bit in and out, but I persevered and it went round my neck, and I wore it. And then I don't remember doing a lot of knitting after that for a while, but I do remember being at my nan's house in King's Standing, which is North Birmingham, and doing some crochet. And it was the time of the hippies, you know, late 60s, and all I was doing is going around and round in a circle, and then doing a length of chain and threading that through all the stitches on the edge of the circle and pulling it up into what I was calling then a dolly bag. And I think it's like a reticule, is it? That, you know, people used to carry things on the wrist around with them or on the belt and things. But basically it's just a circle bundle. But of course I couldn't keep anything in it because it's crochet and it was done on a fairly big hook because stuff used to fall out. But I've got right at the back of my mind, I've got this memory of a little handmade notebook, like I folded bits of paper, and there might have been a couple of different colours in it, and a pen. And I used to think that was great carrying that around with me. And then when I was scanning the photographs, I saw another crochet item, and it was one of those photographs taken in what would have been the photo booth at Woolies. I've got really short hair, well, you'll see that. And on the back was a date, and it actually said Crochet Scarf on it. And you can just see a couple of the colours, and I can vaguely remember that. And it was made, must have been made from scraps of whatever somebody else had been knitting. I don't think I'd bought the yarn myself, but I think there's like a lemon yellow and a dark purple and a sort of pale mid blue in there. But that's from my memory, and as my mother's always telling me, my memory is terrible. But the first garment I remember knitting was, I'm going to have to keep my eye on the camera and turn it on and off again in a minute. And yes, Ginny, I'm going to see if I can do the I better go on. The first garment I remember knitting, I don't know if some of you in the UK remember the Fab 208 teen magazine, and it was sort of centred around Radio Luxembourg that we used to listen to at night when Radio 1 had stopped, or at least stopped putting pop music on. Well, it had John Peel on, and he didn't always appeal to me. I'm getting all my years mixed up now, probably. But yeah, on the front of the Fab 208, which I don't know whether, I think it might have been a fortnightly magazine, was a tank top. And in Britain, we call a tank top, it's something that you wear on the outside of your clothes, sleeveless usually, that you wear on the outside of your clothes. And I know a tank in America at least, and maybe in other places in the world, is something like we call a vest, which is underneath. So, and I think they're interchangeable. And I read in the knitting magazine that the word tank came from the land girls in the Second World War going to swim in the tank, i.e. the swimming pool, local swimming pool, and they had to knit themselves a cossie. And so they knit something just sleeveless, straight up and down, and they go swimming with it. Now, I presume that's true because it was in the knitter. But, the same word gets derived all over the world for different meanings, etc. Well, that sounds interesting. Anyway, this tank top, and it had across the chest the words Donny. We all know who we're talking about, don't we? Yeah, Donny Osmond. Now, I don't know what colour it was on the front of the magazine, but I wanted to knit it, and Mum got me what was then called random wool, which we would call variegated now. And mine was in pinks acrylic, and I knitted it on my own. I think Mum might have cast on, or she might not have done, because I was about 10 or 11 or 12 then. But she certainly would have picked up for the arms and the neck for me, and I would have done all the others, including the shaping, I think. Right. I'm just going to pause there and turn myself off and on. So, yeah, I was talking about the tank top. So I knitted it all, a round neck, I think, scoop neck. I can't remember wearing it, funnily enough, but I didn't bother with the Donny. I didn't want that across my chest. I think it was done in embroidery chain stitch. But yeah, I didn't want to bother with that. So, yeah, that was as far as it went for an Osmond thing. It wasn't even an Osmond outfit, Asked me about my Bay City roller outfit. Completely different subject. Bay City rollers emblazoned across my chest. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. It wasn't a hand knit. It was off the market in Worcester. Anyway, so that's the first garment I remember knitting. And then I'll put another couple of photographs in, if I can find them easily. This is going to be full of photographs, isn't it? Hardly me talking. Of a couple of other knits, including, if I can find it, a shawl necked cardigan that I knitted in sort of a dark green. And I love that cardigan, and I wish I'd kept it. And I wish I still had the pattern, because it was super to do. And I used to wear it a lot. Yeah, see if I can find that. And once I could afford to get a little bit of yarn, I mean, I don't know. My grandma used to do mail order yarn, and it was called Hermit wools. And then it moved to Falcon, or the other way around. I mean, certainly you see patterns for Hermit and Falcon on places like Etsy occasionally. And the shade cards you get today, like you can order, where you've got little tufts of the yarn. Well, if you ordered one, and it's free, because you have to pay these days for a shade card, but Falcon or Hermit would send you from somewhere in Yorkshire, where a lot of the mills were probably still, a booklet, a pamphlet, paper, and it had shade cards in on every page, and it was super, because you could see the true colour of the yarn, and you could feel it, even though it was only like 3/4 of an inch to an inch long, but you could at least feel it, and you get a good idea of, I mean, you couldn't see it on the telly, there was no computer, so how else were you going to order it online, really? And it was great. And I had, as soon as I was 18 and I was allowed legally to order things in the post myself, I certainly had my own Hermit catalogue. And the first thing I remember out ordering was almond green in double knitting pure wool, pure U wool, as it used to get called with that symbol from the, I don't know what it's called, the wool, whatever the wool society is in Britain. And it was a lovely mid-green, not quite a bluey green, and I knitted a sleeveless tank top again, but it had a slightly higher neck, it came right up to the neck, and it had zigzags down the front. And then the cardigan, it was a twin set, the cardigan had like a trefoil pattern, so, you know, 3 eyelets set, 1 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And that was a V-neck, so you could wear the 2 together, although it was very, very warm to wear the 2 together. I wore the cardigan a lot more than I wore the jumper. And I did wear the jumper occasionally with a blouse, if I had something that coordinated with it. But yeah, I got a lot of wear out the jumper, the cardigan, and I really, really liked that, and it was lovely wool as well. And then I'll see what else I can find, because, you know, as I say, I've really only knitted garments, and I've had, apart from when I lived on my own, I didn't have a lot of money, I've always knitted, and it's only in more recent years that I've always tried to buy wool or cotton, because that's just what I prefer knitting with and wearing myself. But I've worn fashion yarns. I had something called Mystique, and I've still got the pattern somewhere. And it was a fashion yarn, and it was like a fake mohair, and I knitted myself a very fluffy jumper with a cable up the front. That would have been in the mid-80s, I think. So yeah, and it depends, yeah, it's horses for courses, isn't it, with yarns, really. So and I've knitted those, you know, when you got one great big huge like 15mm needles, and one thinner needle, and you could knit yourself a top in a couple of days. I've done that. Don't think I wore it very much. Sometimes you get carried away with the pattern, and then you make it and you think, well, actually it's not for me, or, you know. So I don't know if I got the best wear out of some of my knits. And I think I'm still like that to a certain extent now. You know, I get carried away liking the pattern, and then I get it on. I think, well, does this really suit me? Now, this is fine. It's not my perfect pattern. You know, I'm not sure it flatters me very much, but I'm going to keep it because it's nice and lightweight, and it's warm enough, you know, especially as the days get warmer. I wouldn't wear it on its own. It's got a t-shirt underneath it at the moment, but it's not an ultra warm thing. But it's super and it allows me to move freely. So that's good. So that's a bit about my knitting history. Let me know about yours. You know, when did you start knitting? That means I've got 50 odd years under my belt, which makes me an experienced but not an advanced knitter. I'd like to know a lot about it. And I'm very good at, you could use the word fudge, or you could use the word adapting, if things go wrong or I can't make stuff meet, and I usually do it, you know. And as I've got older, I tend to not abandon things and put them out, which I'm sure I would have done when I was younger. Oh, I can't be bothered to do that, or get my mum to sort it out. I'll undo things and do them again. And when I show you my navy cardigan, that's had the sleeves knit, both sleeves knit 3 times, and it got sewn up twice. And I still started again, and I've now got a finished item. Should wear that soon before it gets too warm, because that's a really, really nice cardigan. So I'll keep saying things, telling you about things I'm not going to show you, aren't I? Anyway, let's talk now about acquisitions. I declared I was on a yarn diet. I declared I was on a food diet. We won't discuss it. I have been far less. I've been buying less yarn than I might have done had I considered myself to have free range. But, you know, sometimes you just have to buy things. I bought some things from Kaz of the Wee So and So. I had my eye on her minis, her old romance minis, for some time, and I had them in my basket for nearly 2 weeks, and arguing myself in my head about you're supposed to be on a yarn diet. So these are them. So there's a lovely dark burgundy colour. There's a couple of a corally pink and a what I would consider to be almost a dusky pink. A beautiful gold colour there, and the blue, and they go really, really nicely together. And I do think Kaz has got a really good eye for colour, because I wouldn't necessarily put those together at first thought, but they look super. So I had those 20 gram minis from her, and I thought, well, I'm paying postage, you know, I don't want to pay postage, all that postage for just those. So I felt compelled, you liar, you little liar, to buy something else. And I've bought this. This is Old Romance, and it is in the cottage blend. Now this is gorgeous. It's blowing out, so I'll tell you about it. It's got a pinky beige, pinks, and even a hint of blue in here as well. Very pale, almost sky blue. And it's beautiful. Now, if you watch Kaz's podcast, which I'm sure you do, because a lot of you have come to me from Kaz. Thank you, Kaz. And I bought this because it said it was superwash British wool and it wasn't merino, and I was interested. And I've been looking, she's had this blend for a while now on her website. Now, I know for a fact that her deluxe base, the 85-15 merino nylon, is absolutely beautiful, and it's really squishy, and not a lot of yarn dyers carry that base, but I've made my friend's shawl out of it that I showed you last time. So I thought, oh, there's the British one, you know, and she said it was soft, and it really is soft. You can tell that there's nothing wrong with it. I'm trying to describe it really. It's probably nearer how the BFL feels. I always think of merino as being a bit shiny soft. Do you know what I mean by that? Because it sort of, your hand, when you get the merino out, it's almost like it's not there, it's so soft. But yeah, that's going to be super. I've got no idea what I'm going to use it with. I suspect I'm going to have to buy something of a similar blend and knit that up, because I think that would suit me. I wouldn't buy it otherwise, would I? And there are some other things that Kaz had sent me for the podcast as well, so I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you one of them anyway. Keep the other one as a surprise. And then I told you last time that I ordered some more needles so that my mum could knit a hat in that lovely nectarine yarn from River Knits, and she's done one. She found knitting in the round a little bit difficult because the 6.5 zings that are fixed circulars are quite short, you know, because to go round and round with a hat they've got to be short, otherwise you can't make the circle complete. So it's only like a 14-inch cable. But she said by the end of the hat she'd got used to it a bit, but she was going to knit herself one with just one strand of double knit because she felt she was fighting with the needles all the time. And now she's thought about it for a day and she's tried the hat on that she made, because she's making me a hat as well. She's decided she's going to make just another one for herself in exactly the same way. So that's good, because it means she's done something new. And I'll show you the finished article when I can get some photographs of her. So this gorgeous thing is called Rambler from, did I show you this last time? No, I couldn't have done. I ordered this from Woolstack because it made up the postage, free postage, and it's a Manos de Uruguay. I think. Anyway, if I showed it you, I'm sorry. I can't remember. I'm a bit twixt today because I felt a bit icky this morning. And then I had the news, the doctors phoned me and they booked me in for Monday to have my vaccine. And that was nice. And again, and I've got my other follow-up appointment for mid-May to have my second one. So both hubby and I will be done by then. And that's really, really good. And it was announced in the UK yesterday that a plan for getting us out of lockdown step by step, and I think it will work if people behave themselves, basically. If people don't behave themselves, then we could be back to square one. But having the vaccine should help the recurrence or the spread of the awful disease that is COVID. So, my acquisitions. And then, Kaz, because she's a very, very generous lady, naughty but generous, said to me, I've sent you these for the podcast. I'm going to show you both of them because they will be a part of a giveaway again. Now this one, I ain't blowing out. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come closer to you, show you these. Try about the clunking. It's when the motors engage. Right, so this, oh, it's still blowing out. Sausages. Oh, useless. So you can see how lighter I look when I come near the screen. Right, I'm going to show you them. I'm going to back away again and put some pictures in. I've got so many photographs to take this time. This is a beautiful set of Kazi Deluxe 85-15 Merino nylon. That's called Jazzy, and you can't see it, but it's got flecks of, it's a cream base, probably natural undyed, with beautiful rainbow speckles, yellow, pink and blue mainly, and odd red, and gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And it goes beautifully with this, which is a pink, and this is called Pink Grapefruit, and this is 50 grams skein. So I'm putting this in for this 150 grams. I'm putting this in to my giveaway for the podcast. And then she's also given me this, which is beautiful. Again, no, this is Deluxe High Twist, and that one isn't a high twist. So it's still 85%, and this is called Mountain Daisy, and you've probably seen that one. Cassie's, it's just blowing out. It's a beautiful green. It's got lots of greens, blues and speckles and yellow in it, and then it comes with a yellow mini. While I'm talking, perhaps I'll put photographs in here. Probably a good idea. So, Kaz, thank you, you gorgeous lady, for those beautiful gifts. You know, you spoil me. You know you do. So, the giveaway. Well, some lucky person. There won't be any entries when I tell you about this. Some lucky person is going to win a wonky bag off me that I've made, along with the yarns that and she dips her tea into. Please don't fall on the floor, thank you. She dips her yarn into the tea. This is a drawstring bag. I'm waiting for the tape to go in the top. I bought some coordinating tape. This is made by me, my fair hands. It's not structured at all. It's a very squishy one that you can, I won't squish it up too much because I've just ironed it. But it's called wonky because if you inspect it, you'll probably see several errors where somebody who sells bags would not make these errors. And it's because I'm a novice, basically. But it measures, well, it's fair distance. It's about 12 to 14 inches, I think, wide, and about 8 or 9 high. And then it's got the channels for the drawstring, which I'll put in. And then inside there is a pale pink lining. Isn't it horrible, Bert? Yes, it is. Come back to see me again. He's wagging his tail. You can just see his back there. Oh no. And it's got an handmade labelling, and there's a slip pocket in there as well. So Ali of Little Drops of Wonderful has got her dodgy bags, but we go to Morrison's for a lot of our food shopping, and they do wonky vegetables. So this is a wonky bag. So if you win it, right, don't write back to me and say, well, the seams don't exactly line up. I know. But yeah, so it's unstructured. I have got ones with padding in, but I'm practicing all different sorts of things, sizes and etc. And I'm finding it harder than I thought I would, really. I know all the theory and everything, what I should be doing. It's making it all come together. So I'm struggling a bit with that. So I think I've probably talked for long enough. It looks like I've been talking for nearly 20 plus. Yeah, far too long. I might have to edit little bits out, but because I talk too fast, that's hard to do because I don't pause for breath. Tell me what you're making now, and to enter into the giveaway, please don't put giveaway in the comments, right? Because YouTube says don't do that. Don't put it in the. I'm not going to put it in the title. I want it to go to my subscribers and not some troll who's looking for giveaways. So please tell me what you're making there and use the word crafting, just crafting, to enter the giveaway. If you don't put the word crafting in, I won't search for. That's the word I'm going to search for when I do my random comment picker. And I will probably leave this for a couple of weeks. So I will draw it after the next episode. So let's say we've got until about mid-March. The week beginning the 8th of March, so it'll be sometime then that I will draw the prize. And I'll mention it again on the next podcast. But yeah, please don't put giveaway in any of the comments or the word prize. If you want to be entered, please tell me what you're making at the moment, or not, as the case may. You might be having a vest. And put the word crafting. You don't have to work it into a sentence, you just put crafting. And that can be your whole comment if you want to. I'll leave that to you. That's the only compulsory thing around here. And I'll post to anywhere in the world. And I'll add a few bits and pieces into it as well. Okay? Right, I'm going to love you and leave you. I will speak to you in about 9 to 10 days' time. Get in touch if you've got any questions, and you take care, and we'll speak soon. Ta-ra.